Alright, I'm back out here working on the Kawasaki Bayou. I'm trying to get to the front differential. What's this camera doing? There it is. I'm trying to get to this front differential, and because all the axles where they go in are loose, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to rebuild the differential. So I'm going to take it out and we'll take it apart. Alright, I got the differential out. Looks like the vent tube was stopped up. But this axle, I don't know if you can see, but it's got all kind of slop in it. These have some, and not as bad as this one, but I'm going to take it all apart and inspect it and see what's up. Alright, I'm going to start ripping the axles out. Normally these things pull out of a lot of four-wheelers, but I think they're like got snap rings up in there. So I gotta take these 3 bolts out around the sides, and this whole plate comes off with the axle, I think. That's what it looks like. Alright, it's a 3/16 is what size these are. Don't strip out on me. Well, that one stripped out. What a surprise. That one came out. Let's see if that works. Got it. Jammed the 5mm in there. Maybe they are supposed to be metric. Alright, there's our axle with our axle retainer thing. And I'm going to assume there's a bearing in here, and if there is, it's shot. Take this side apart. There's that one. This one's the same way. That plate's just floppy on there. I don't know if there's a bearing up in here or not, but I'll find out. Kind of watery up inside this thing. Got the O-rings on the outside. Now I'm going to take this piece out, which looks like a 12mm. Got a screwdriver right here. We got like some shims up in here. Interesting. Got an O-ring seal, it looks like. As you can probably tell, I don't know what I'm working with. I've never worked on one of these before. I've done plenty of Hondas, but I've never worked on a Kawasaki. Dang, this thing's gonna go on forever, isn't it? We got the whole pinion assembly right here. Now I got bigger, probably a 14 millimeter. Now I can take this cover off, probably. Probably not going to be easy to get this to separate. It's probably not going to be easy at all. Oh, never mind. Okay, that's cool. Kawasaki uses an O-ring to seal this thing instead of silicone maker, gasket maker, like Honda. Yeah, that this bearing's got quite a bit of slack in it. There's a shim right there. Keep all your shims where they came from. Keep them where they go. Eesh, that don't sound good. That thing should probably spin much smoother than that. Okay, the carrier pulls out. And we have the carrier right there. The bearing on this side of the housing feels tight, but we know it doesn't sound smooth. And then you have this, your differential. I thought these things were supposed to be limited slip, but I don't think they are. I don't think they are. Looks like a open differential to me. I'm going to figure out all the parts I need for this to then rebuild it. I'm probably going to dismantle it some more. I'm going to see if there are any bearings up inside this cap here. Alright, to get this cap off the axle, it's got a snap ring thing. Just like that. That retains it, and this comes off. Okay. There's no bearing. There isn't a bearing. It's just an oil seal. Keep these set down safely. Cool. Now I'm going to see what makes this pinion, the pinion tick. So we've got the shim on this thing that I accidentally bent up a little bit, but I'll straighten it out. Or when it gets sandwiched back in there, it'll straighten itself out. I'm going to take this shim off. Take that shim off. Take this bigger, thicker shim off. There's an O-ring there where it's sealed. So this piece here looks like it's held on with 2 set screws. 2 set screws. So that one fit it. First try. Alright, the one that fits is 2.5 millimeter. 2.5 millimeter. That's small right there. That is small. I'm going to take it all the way out. But after I take this off, I'm going to screw them back in so I don't lose them, because they're tiny. But luckily they're not tight, because if they were tight, I'd strip them out and I'd never be able to get it loose. So now I'm going to take this screwdriver. I think it's going to take a little bit of persuasion to get that off. I don't know how this clamp works here. Probably going to cut it off because there's no way I'd be able to get it back on. Yeah. Alright, it's cut. Okay. So we got this little sleeve here that goes on these splines. And then we got a universal joint that hooks to this thing right here. I think it's just going to take some prying. Yeah. Yep, let me get another big screwdriver. Awesome, that comes off easy. Okay, so we got our universal joint off of our pinion gear. Looks like there's some sort of bushing or something right there. I'll set that aside. There's an O-ring on our shaft right here. And then we got some bearings. I can't really tell what I'm looking at because it's so nasty. Oh my gosh. There's a bunch of mud and junk built up. Alright, it looks to me like this stuff threads off of there. It's like it's got this nut that takes a spanner wrench to get off, I believe. Look, this is one of the things got so much slack because it's not tight. A wheel bearing has to be, there's two of them and they both pull in opposite directions and it holds them both in there tight. Looks like something has loosened off. Alright, here's the apparatus I got set up to be able to get this pinion gear out. I've got the pinion gear itself in the vise between these two pieces of wood. The reason you want the wood is so the metal jaws on your vise doesn't tear up your pinion gear, because that would be not good. Alright, look down here if you can see it clearly. Alright, you got this like this nut or washer with all these wings on it. This wing over here is locked into one of these notches on the nut. So I'm going to take the hammer. I'm going to unlock the nut by bending that thing back down. And then I'm going to take this punch and the hammer, and I'm going to just tap the nut to get it to back off. And I don't know if this is working. I think I'm going to have to make a special tool for this so I don't destroy it. I think I know what I'm going to try next. I'm gonna try to get me a piece of pipe or something and tack it to the nut, tack weld it to the nut, and then make a way for me to put an impactor on it. Alright, we'll see if this works. I got this piece of pipe tacked to the nut all the way around. And I got this bolt just chicken pooped to the top of it, or this nut I mean. I'm gonna put a socket on the nut and see what happens. Haha, I'm a genius. There, nut's loose. All I have to do is knock them tacks off with a grinder and I can put it back on. Now we've got that nut thing that locks it in place. That locks the, that's the washer that locks the nut in place. Alright, we got some sort of a spacer, like a sleeve. That went down here. We have a seal right there. We have a bearing right there. So we got a seal, a bearing. This thing right here was, I think it was in there just like that, with this O-ring sitting in it to seal around that. Yeah, I think it was just like that to seal around this. We have the pinion itself. Looks like we have a sleeve that goes between the two bearings. Looks like them bearings are kind of pitted a little bit. We're gonna get all new bearings. I'm gonna set these pieces to the side so I don't lose them. So we got the sleeve. It's hot for me welding on it. Okay, we got a shim and a sleeve, and then the bearing. The bearing is probably a press fit. Yeah, I think the bearing's a press fit, so it's not coming off right now. But we got that. Now I'm going to knock the seal, or knock this bearing out. Alright, there we go. We just knocked the bearing and the seal out. Then we are left with our two bearing races, this race and that race. Then we have the seal that came out right there, and the bearing that was hiding up under the seal. But I'm gonna order a whole new differential kit, or a whole new rebuild kit, and in the next video I'll put all this back together. Alright, we're back. I've got all the bearings and things, seals to rebuild this differential. First thing I'm going to start off is the bearing in the main housing. I've got to knock it out with this chisel. I got to get it down in there and work it around and hit it with a hammer and beat that out. Alright, the old bearing is out. Got it wiped down with a rag. Gonna knock the new bearing in with this 1 3/4 inch drive socket. This is the right diameter, so I'm gonna use that to knock this thing in place. Set that in there like that, and I'll put this socket in there and I'll tap on that to get it in there. Alright, now I got that bearing that new bearing in. Next piece that goes in, take it, this side goes down. And there wasn't any shims or anything in this piece. I'm just gonna slide it right down in there. Boom. That's in place. This cover here, knock that old bearing out of this cover, and then put the new bearing in it. Put it back together just like that. Oh, and there is one shim right here that goes right there. That's how it come apart. So I'm gonna put that back in too. All right, got the new bearing in the cap. Got the shim on the carrier. I'm gonna oil up this O-ring real good. I'm gonna clean up this O-ring around the side real good, and then slip that cap on there. Gonna slide this piece on here. I cleaned up this O-ring. If it doesn't feel like it's gonna seal very tight, then I'm going to put RTV. I'm gonna put RTV on it. All right. Yeah, feels like this thing still fits tight. Oh, the O-ring felt like it fit pretty tight, so I'm gonna say it seals. And if it doesn't, we'll have to take it apart and redo it. Got these bolts. Put them around the cover thing. Now it's time for the pinion rebuild. Alright, so we got an O-ring here. Goes somewhere in there. Got the nut. Got this lock thing that locks the nut. Got the housing. Got this thing. This thing rides on the seal is what that does. So this piece uses a wheel bearing, like an axle wheel bearing type deal. It's got a race on this side, race on this back side. So I'm going to knock those two out and knock a new one in. Got the old bearing races out. Take these new bearing races and knock those back in its place. Alright, got the pinion free of all the old bearings. Take a new bearing, slide it on there, like that. I'm gonna have to find something to go right around here to be able to knock it down all the way on there. I'm gonna use this chisel to knock it down on there. Alright, got the bearing on the pinion, and it has these 3 original spacers in here that go between the 2 bearings. They're all different sizes than this bearing. Goes on just like that, but you have to put that on while it's in the case. So you stick the pinion in from the bottom side, stick this bearing in the top side, push it down in there tight. Then you take, well, let me put the seal in here. Got this seal here that goes down in here, and I'll beat that in real quick. Alright, got that seal in place. Then we take this sleeve thing, make sure it's clean, put it, it's got 2 different places. It's got a machine spot right here that goes up. Put it down, get it pushed inside that seal, and then this little O-ring right here goes down inside that, and then Then you have this little spacer piece. It's just a little tiny thin shim. Pretty sure it goes next. Then this lock washer goes down. Then you take your nut and put on there. And we're gonna snug that down. I'm gonna get it snugged down to where I like it. Alright, when you tighten this nut down, make sure you get it good and snug, but make sure the pinion still spins. And you'll take one of these ears on this lock thing and bend it up in the nut so it won't ever come out. Alright, got that leaf bent in there. Still spinning good. It'll spin even better when it's got oil on it. But there's our pinion. Take this O-ring and put it back around the outside. Now I'm going to take this pinion, put these old shims back on here. Shoot, I'm going to put them straight on the studs. Put it straight on the stud. There's a real thin one right here. Goes on first. Then there's a thicker shim. Goes right there. Then this thing goes in. I didn't think about there being an up or a down. An up or a down. An up or a down. Alright, the Osmo, we're out of card for it. I believe this big hole goes up towards the vent line. And I'm just going to tap it down in there. Alright. This is TikTok. We don't film things straight up and down. We've got these two little set screws that somehow haven't been lost while they were sitting here. They go in this. Alright, I'm just going to give this set screw a little love tap because this is a lot of torque. For a tiny little set screw. Alright. That's that. Now we're going to put the axles back in. Pretty sure these axles are identical. Let me make sure they are identical in length. Yes, they are. So one of them I already took apart. So I'm going to do the one I'm going to go ahead and work on the one I took apart. And clean off this end of the shaft. Now we have this cap that came with it. It's got an O-ring. I shouldn't need that anymore, Wade. Well, maybe I will. I don't know. Got this O-ring. Goes right there. I'll just go ahead and set that in place. We have this cap here that I have to make sure and remember how it goes. Alright, and it's got the seal right here in the end of it. So I'm going to take this cap, put this cap in the vise. Why are you looking at?
I'm trying to get around.
And use this screwdriver to get it in behind that thing. Just knock it out like that. And this seal right here actually holds back the differential fluid, or the gear oil in the differential. Got the seal. Make sure you put it in right, which is this direction. And I think I can press it down here with just my fingers. Let me do a little tap with the hammer. Alright, that thing's in there. This piece, this metal piece, goes this direction. Alright, this piece goes right there. And then our snap ring goes over that. And it's a snap ring that you just push apart with something like this. Well, I guess this is snap ring pliers. Make sure that snap ring's in its groove, and it is. Pull this cap back up against that. Make sure your O-ring is nice and clean and the surface that it seals against is clean. And it looks like it is pretty darn clean. So then you take your axle, get it slid up in there, get the gears to line up. You just take your screws and put it back together and snug them down. I'll go ahead and snug these down, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Cut it. Alright, that's how you rebuild a front differential on a Kawasaki Bayou 300. Super simple. I'll have to get me a clamp to put back on there since I had to cut the old one off, but it's pretty simple. This thing's snug now. Snug. Perfect. All I have to do is put it back on the machine, and then I'm going to fill it up with oil. Hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. Maybe that'll help you work on your own Kawasaki Bayou one day. But if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.